Hello, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto. Odometer rollbacks are an epidemic, a widespread problem most people are not aware of, at least not aware of the scope of it as they should be. This article is drawn to my attention by Steve, a guy with a great name who knows I'm always looking for good stories. He emailed this to me this morning, and it's an article by Tony Markovich out of Autoblog. And the headline is 1.6 million US cars have rolled back odometers, according to Carfax. 1.6 million US cars. And here's the funny thing about Carfax. And I've been critical of Carfax in the past because some things they do tend to downplay and or miss. And I've done entire videos on that. But the real thing that's interesting is that Carfax is just a big vacuum cleaner of picking up data on cars. And they can get a lot of data from government databases, and the data comes in and they crunch it. And the interesting thing is, and you don't think about it until you go to buy or sell a car, and you're looking at a car to buy, or you go to sell a car, and the person looking, so somebody at the moment of a sales transaction or potential sales transaction says, "Hey, let's pull a Carfax on this car." But the interesting thing is that the data and information is sitting in Carfax's database. They've got the data on my car, on your car. If your car is registered someplace, they've got some information on your car. And so, for instance, my vehicle, when I registered it here in Michigan, and I got the first title for it, it recorded the mileage. And so there's other places that information is being picked up. So even though I haven't pulled a Carfax on my car, and as far as I know, no one else has either, the fact of the matter is that the potential to pull it is out there. So if you wanted to, and you were Carfax, you could probably press like 3 buttons and have it kick out how many vehicles in your database have apparently rolled back odometers. And they did that. I don't know if it's 3 keys or not, but 1.6 million cars, according to their math. So this is something, again, like I said, Tony Markovich at Autoblog wrote about. Steve sent me the email that gave me the link to it. And Illinois is reportedly one of the first worst states with 60,000 cars in the state that appear to have rolled back odometers. And this is also something that NBC 12's Investigate TV did a story on, and how easy it is to roll back digital odometers. And that's something that we've been aware of for a while in the legal field. In the old days, I'm talking about the old days, when a car had, an odometer that gets to 99,999 and then roll over to zeros. I had a 69 Dodge Charger, like this car, but without the wing and the nose cone, and it was yellow. I'll put up a picture. The car you're looking at right there, the yellow car, paid $300 for it in 1979. My brother painted it yellow because it was green when I bought it, and drove it for a couple of years. And that car had an odometer that when I bought it, I believe was in the 70s or 80s. And I was driving it when it rolled over and went to all zeros again. And I remember where I was. I was on southbound Woodward Avenue near 8 Mile Road, crossing over from Oakland County into Wayne County. And crossed over, turned around, came back up Woodward Avenue. All zeros, and then 1, then 2, then 3. That's like a brand new car. But of course, a few years later, they added an extra digit and made everything go wonky. So digital odometers are not safe from or protected from mileage rollback. In some cases, it's actually easier to alter the digital numbers than the old analog method. Because in the old analog method, from my understanding, is you actually had to take the dashboard apart some way and actually, get at the little wheels and, dismantle some things that held them in place, play with them a little bit, put it all back together again, and then I hope you get the dashboard back together in a way that looked like it came from the factory. And in the old days, one of the easiest ways to spot odometer tampering was the numbers would be misaligned, or they'd click funny, or the dashboard had weird fitment problems. And so, the funny thing is now that apparently you can just do this all digitally by connecting something to the car, which, it's a federal offense, but people are doing it because it's so lucrative, as they say. NBC 12 demonstrated in one of their articles how easy it was to do that. They mentioned the Carfax article in there, and they used the 2006 Chevy Silverado as an example. And there they actually followed a particular vehicle that started out with 230,000 miles, which made it worth about $3,700. And then somebody could very quickly change the mileage using an easily purchased device, changing the car's odometer to read 130,000 miles. So knocking 100,000 miles off the odometer changes the value and makes the truck now suddenly worth $8,000. So it more than doubled the value of the truck. And so you can see why people would be tempted to do it even though it's illegal. That falsification is a federal crime, as Tony Markovich points out. It's also a violation of state law in many states. In Michigan, it's a violation of state law as well as a federal offense. And by the way, it's also a crime. It's not just you can get sued for it. You can go to jail for it. Now, no one ever goes to jail for odometer fraud, or almost never, unless it's like a widespread ring or something. But theoretically, it is a crime as well as a civil thing that you can be sued for, so you should be aware of that. But the falsification and the crime puts the truck and its potential buyers at a serious risk. Number one, the buyers are paying more than they should for a less valuable car. Number two, they might not know the vehicle needs maintenance because they don't know it's got 250,000 miles on it. And number three, of course, when they go to sell the vehicle, someone might pull a Carfax and go, "Hey, someone rolled the odometer back in this thing." And they're going to say, "Well, I didn't do it." And they're going to go, I don't care. I'm not going to buy the vehicle. It's got a spun odometer." I know people in the used car business who say that a vehicle with a situation of unknown miles versus known miles cuts the value of the vehicle in half at least. Just right off the bat, boom, knock the value in half. So in the NBC piece, they spoke to a woman who suffered as a result of the crime. She purchased a 2008 BMW with 136,000 miles on it for just under $10,000. She had all kinds of problems with the vehicle, and then she found out the odometer had been rolled back almost 100,000 miles. And she said, "I would never think a digital odometer could actually have a rollback," which is kind of a sad thing to think about because, as you might know from computers, digital numbers are easier to manipulate if you can get at the thing that control them, because you don't have to actually get in there and spin the little dials around like I described on the analog old style odometers. And so Tony Markovich points out the obvious red flag here is that the woman who bought the BMW, said that she got a VIN check done on her car after she had her suspicions. And of course, she could have gotten the VIN check done before she bought the car, probably would have revealed the rollback, and then she could have decided not to buy the car. So he suggests a simple examination for the history would have shown the mileage was rolled back, and her problems could have been avoided altogether. Carfax even has a specific page, of course, for checking odometer fraud. And so the Autoblog folks would say, let this serve as a reminder or a wake-up call that buying a used car requires proper research and examination. For more information on how to protect yourself from troubled used cars, poke around. The information's out there. And, like I said before, I would never think that Carfax or any of its competitors is exhaustive and makes no mistakes. They will have to, by anybody out there makes mistakes. And I've had people tell me, they say, I bought a car, I pulled a Carfax on it, it was clean. I go to trade the car in, suddenly there's something on the Carfax that popped up after I bought it, but predates when I bought it. And so I don't know how long it takes information to wend its way through the Carfax system. That might be part of the problem. I've also had people tell me they went to sell a car, and the guy goes, dude, I just ran a Carfax on your car, and your car's got a spun back odometer. And the guy's like, no, it can't. I'm the original owner. And they go back and look, and it turns out there's one oil change 2 years ago that's got an aberration in the math because a mechanic fat-fingered in the wrong mileage. And so the guy's got to go back and try to get this straightened out. Now, the good news is, I've heard from many people that these places that do this work, Carfax and their cohorts, the different people who compete with them, there are ways that you can ask them to fix something. And if you can document a mistake in their paperwork, they will often have a way for you to fix that. So, it's I guess it's easier than fixing your credit report. But it's important that you know that that's there. But again, the number of times that I've had people call me and say, Steve, I bought a car, then I discovered this. And I asked them, I said, how did you discover this? And they did something, after the purchase that they could have done before the purchase. I took it to a mechanic, I pulled a Carfax, you know, I test drove the car after I bought it. They don't call it a test drive though. But the point is that anything that you could have discovered beforehand, you ought to discover beforehand. Okay? The idea that you're buying a car and you don't pull the Carfax. If you're buying from a dealership, there's no excuse. I'm sure by now you know that that's part of the marketing that Carfax has done. They said basically ask for one, and most dealerships have one, and they say, boom, here it is. And like I said, they have competitors. There's other companies out there. I'm not saying you have to use a Carfax, but use somebody, because the data is out there, especially on mileage. That's the one thing. It's like a trap for the stupid. Okay, the idea that mileage is a number, and the number should always be heading north. And if the number ever accidentally goes south and then starts going north again, you know there's a problem. Okay? There's other things that these reporting systems have problems with. For instance, if a vehicle gets brought in for a warranty repair and they did engine work, what does that mean? Does that mean that they replaced an EGR valve? Or does that mean they replaced the camshaft? Or that they replaced the crankshaft? Car guys know what I'm talking about here. EGR valve is 10 minutes. Camshaft is an afternoon. Crankshaft is a couple days, okay? And it varies from car to car. But the point is, those all three could be described as engine warranty. What's it mean? But the problem, like I said, is that there are ways that you can say that we don't know what some of this stuff means. There's no dispute that an odometer is a ratchet if it's being used properly. That's always ratcheting north. It's always ratcheting up. The numbers are always climbing. And this is the one thing that these services should always be able to spot, because it's a math problem. Is this number larger than this number? Is this number larger than this number? And if yes, fine. If no, put up the red flag that says odometer discrepancy. Look here, look here, look here. Okay? So there's no excuse for getting caught on that if, in fact, it's in the records someplace. Okay? If it's not in the records because it hasn't worked its way through yet, I'd understand that. But when someone calls me and says, hey, Steve, I didn't pull the Carfax until afterwards, then I found out. And I say, well, here's the deal. You can sue somebody for a spun odometer. You can also report them to the authorities and see if they get prosecuted. Good luck with that. But the lawsuit is not necessarily a bad idea if you can show who did it, because there's treble damages in Michigan if you can show who did it and how they did it with intent and so on. And the federal statute, I think, also has treble damages as well, but there's slight differences between the two as to how easy it is and who you can get for it. But of course, the problem often arises because someone has a vehicle, they sell it, someone then sells it again, and then someone sells it to you, and you find out that the mileage is rolled back over here. And somehow, it went through all these different hands, and it's unclear who of them knew, or which of them knew, or if they knew. And then, of course, if they all knew or didn't know, but this is the guy over here who spun the odometer, where is he, by the way? So, the best solution for this is to not let it happen to you. And I've said that before on other topics, So, yes, if it happened to you, I feel sorry for you. I'll try to help you if I can. I'll explain the law to you if I can. And if you're in Michigan and you've got a great case, I might even handle it for you. I still handle odometer claims from time to time. But I'll admit they're not my favorite cases, because quite often we get in those situations where it's, I got the vehicle, I'm the seventh owner, and someone spun the odometer back between owners 2 and 3 who live in Kentucky or something. So the best thing to do is avoid the problem in the first place. So again, just so you've been warned, according to Carfax, there may be as many as 1.6 million vehicles on the roads of America right now with rolled back odometers, and you don't want to buy one, so do your homework. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later.